Sure.
Yeah.
All righty. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Doudna.
Okay, Tony and Jim, do you want to show your own or do you want me to do it?
Oh, I can show my own if you like.
I'm not sure I want to see that.
All right, well, why don't we have Tony start?
Well, surely it should be Jim that starts because he got first place.
Well, I don't think we should allow him to show anything because, you know,
You're right, yeah.
we all need a handicap.
Yeah.
All right, so Jim, you start.
Okay, let me see here. I think I've got it set up, so give me a second here. Let's see.
I'll start with the best. Then we'll see the rest.
Is it taking it?
Well, no, Jim, you've disappeared completely. Oh, no, you're back. Yeah.
Okay, let me try one more time here. Okay, let's see.
No.
Well, let's see. Can you see my screen now?
No.
You can't. Okay, let me.
You want me to start?
Yeah, you go ahead and start. I'm not sure what's happening. Why?
Okay, let's see what we can do here.
Oh, I know what the problem was. Go ahead. Anyway.
Are you ready?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Right, let me see. You seeing my screen?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Right, this is my book. This is obviously the front and back covers. I was criticised that I should have used a different picture on the back. Okay.
Yep.
The writing's different.
First page.
Now this place is in Lodi, California.
I own.
Ione. Oh, Ione. Okay.
Yeah.
Not too far away.
Yeah. I own it. Was 103, I think, that day we were there. It was a bit warm. Okay, and then we go on to this page.
Wow.
It's quite a documentary, Tony.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if people are reading that or not, if I should go on.
Well, why don't you read us the highlights that are
Construction for this 46,000 square foot, 120 room Romanesque castle was started in 1890. The building's bricks were made by nearby Folsom and San Quentin inmates and shipped via rail to Ione in California's Sierra foothills, where the castle was built. The state legislature had ordered construction of the building to serve as a juvenile rehabilitation correctional facility. By 1894, the castle was completed and the Preston School of Industry was opened. At the military-style school, wards spent half their days in school and the other half learning a trade that could support them after their release. The facility served as home to the school until 1960, when it was moved to a newer nearby buildings. For the next 40 years, the castle remained abandoned until 2001, when a 50-year lease was given to the Preston Castle Foundation. The foundation has since been working to preserve and restore the castle. The building has been named a California Historical Landmark.
wow.
I like that. That's the only color photo in the book, isn't it, Tony?
No, there are a couple,
Okay.
but it's for the most part it's monochrome or black and white. Yeah.
Wow.
It's been abandoned and it's a wreck, and they started to actually dismantle the building, as you'll see later on. See the bathtubs.
Is it a self-guided tour, or did you have to go?
It's normally a tour where they take you around, but I'm not sure if they're still doing it. They did have twice a year photographer days where you could go with your own, wander around on your own, take your photos. You know, you paid them a fee. You could even take a model in there and lighting and stuff like that. You had to pay for each person. So if you took a model, you had to pay for the model as well.
What's the fee? Do you know?
I can't remember now. It was a couple of years ago.
But it's reasonable. It's not.
Oh yeah, it's reasonable. Yeah, it's certainly reasonable if you go on your own.
Yeah.
Having said which, I'm not sure they've done it for a year or so. They do also do tours there for Halloween because it's a nice creepy spot for Halloween. I love the face on the safe on the right hand picture there.
I like the over on the left hand side the lath and plaster.
Yes.
You know, that's really old construction.
Yes. Yes. And as you can see, they've taken the cladding off the walls or the laths off the walls, and
I like how those are
sorry.
Those are I like how the 2 pages meet.
Yes, it's just
It really is a cool effect. I mean, those pictures match really well.
yeah, you know, they kind of belong together. That's how I put them there like that. But yeah,
In the restoration, are they going to restore this? Try to restore it to its original, or are they going to leave?
no, I think it's a bit like Bodie. They want to basically arrest the decay.
Yeah, yeah.
There are parts of this building where there's a hole in the roof that goes through to the basement. You know, so parts of it are definitely off bounds, shall we say. Yeah, and the parts of staff accommodation, there's whole bits of furniture like that. You can see the showers look like something out of Auschwitz. As I say, they started to take the place apart, hence they removed a lot of the plumbing, as you can see from the toilet block. Funny story with the bath, they put they had tape across it, a bit like, you know, the police do not cross tape. And I asked the docent there, can I remove that tape to take a photo? And she said, sure, that they had to put it there because people were getting a bath to have their photo taken.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Tony, it looks like those round things are wash basins. Is that right?
Yes, they're like communal wash basins, so that they had water spouts that come out all around them. So so the kids can get around and wash their hands at the same time.
You probably said this, but this is all boys. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. As far as I know.
Yeah.
In the kitchens, the thing I don't like about this picture on the left is the plaster pie.
Oh yeah.
Ruins the age of it, if you see what I mean. But in the picture on the right, to the left of that what would you call it, stand thing, you can see a passage out there that leads down to a storeroom where a member of staff was murdered once. They never caught the culprit who did it.
Wow. Imagine if that person had been murdered twice.
Yeah. Murdered at one time, I should say.
If you go to Bodie, there are places that you can look in like that, but they've got them screened off, big wire. Were these all open access?
Yeah, these are open access. Yeah.
Okay.
You could wander in there. The places I've got photos of are open access. Places you couldn't go, they were screened off, like because you go through the floor, you know. But,
Tony, did you say it was over on the right-hand side that they were murdered? That's
the right-hand picture, but to the left you can see there's a doorway on the left there.
Okay, I thought there was a secret passageway over there on the right where you can see that concrete wall. I think,
Oh no,
really interesting.
No, and that's right. The tower is You can't go up to the tower. That would be interesting.
What did they do in the tower?
Well, it's just part of the Romanesque building. Like, it's not open to the public for sure. There's another part of the kitchen on the left there. Plates and stuff in there.
How many kids did they have institutionalized?
Didn't it say at the beginning there?
It's your blip.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I was just curious because the kitchen doesn't look very large.
No.
For for a large number of people, it didn't look sufficient.
But they got the main building there, but they're also the I was going to say kids, the inmates.
Yeah.
They had separate like dormitory buildings, so they may have had facilities in those as well.
Okay.
That were, a lot of what was done in this place was the industrial stuff because they used to make things, for the prison and that. That pool on the right there is like a plunge pool. And I understand that when the kids or when the inmates first arrived, they made them get in there. It's a bit like a sheep dip bath.
And the ceiling fell in.
The ceilings dropped in and that as well. Yeah, you couldn't go in there. They wouldn't allow you in there.
Well, hopefully they will patch that ceiling up.
So that was all for bathing then, right? It wasn't like swimming. It was you go in
No,
there.
it was to, dip them for their nits and their fleas and things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it really was a sheep dip.
Yeah. See the nice ceiling on the right.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Still got the chandelier hanging there.
Yeah.
They got an infirmary, which was fascinating. I found fascinating.
Why is that?
Yeah. A bedpan.
Those haven't changed much.
No. Some hospital beds in there. I enjoyed the sun patterns on it.
Yeah, I like the shadows.
And the barber's shop. They had a barber's shop.
That's good shape.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And the wash basin on the left speaks to us now. Contagious disease.
No kidding.
So did they with that area was only for quarantine?
Probably, yeah. Yeah. They had I didn't see much to photograph in there, but there was a padded cell you could go in.
Oh, put me in there.
But that was very popular with people that are taking models in. They were taking photos of them in there. I guess if you know what's there, you could go with a straitjacket and a model and put them in the padded cell. Yeah. That member of staff has been there way too long.
That would be spooky to go in there. You think that would happen to you?
Was that a real skeleton?
No, I think it's one of those medical ones, not a genuine item.
Just going to say, because there a true skeleton like that is really very rare these days. Even medical schools can't. I actually had one at my school, but medical schools can rarely get a true skeleton anymore.
Yeah, they have to make do with plastic mock-ups, I guess.
Is that because there's a demand for skeletons, or nobody's dying?
I think it just has to do with it's not because people aren't dying. Just to get a body and then to do the work to remove everything and sanitize it and so forth, and then reassemble it is quite a big deal.
Tell you a little story as an aside. When I was at school, many years ago. Found a dead crow, and a friend and myself, we decided we wanted to make a, get the bones and wire together the skeleton. So we asked the teacher about it, and he said, "Sure, you just boil it." Well, the stink was unbelievable. Not to mention the maggots floating in it. It's in the grounds, in the outer grounds, some storage doors there. I just like the way this paint's off and the place on the right. Just atmosphere, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that on the right is pretty nice with the
Yeah.
ferns and stuff.
I like the oops, not responding. I like the window. It looks somebody sprayed some paint on it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And a last look down the corridor before we get to the end.
Would you go back a couple pages? There was something you didn't point out. I want to see it. If you don't mind.
No. Say when.
One more. Okay, what's that thing on the right?
A wheelchair.
No, no.
Okay,
Go back.
Go forward now.
Thing that looks like a cell phone. There you go.
It's the footpiece off a wheelchair
Ah,
Oh, okay.
that's just been
I thought it might have
left
been a
laying on
torture.
the table.
It wasn't a torture mechanism or something. That's good to know.
No. Beat the kids with it, yeah.
Get in shape or I'll put you under the H.
So there we go.
very good, Tony.
It's let me see. I thought it said there. Interesting how Merle Haggard was there. The 120 room Romanesque castle, yeah.
Okay, 120 room. Okay.
You can see the
Where is
tower.
it again?
So Merle Haggard was there, huh?
Yeah.
As an inmate? Probably?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a troublemaker.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Him and Johnny Cash.
Wow.
So, did you win a score with this one? Did you
Second place. Yeah, I got
Second
second
place.
for this one.
And
Congratulations.
what did I know the person who judged our books left us a little note and talked about it. What were the highlights of what he said?
Let me get the note.
It'd be interesting to hear his critique.
He says, nice use of subtle topography and effective using variety of page layouts. It's a well-designed book with fine photographs and a fascinating subject. He then says, use a different image on the back rather than a repeat of the front. Include a title page with your name on the front and the binding edge. Leave some blank pages to change the rhythm and highlight some of the individual images.
Oh,
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah. There's an appropriately moody feel to the overall look. Great combination of black and white and subdued colour. What a fascinating place to explore.
Wow.
That's nice that he took the time to give his personal notes.
Yes.
Yeah, I asked him to do that. So,
That was very appreciated.
Hey, so
Good job.
Very nice.
do you know who the architect was? That looks like Louis Sullivan's architecture.
No, not offhand. I don't. I can try looking it up.
did we lose Greg for some reason?
Is he gone?
Please muted.
Looks like
He's
it.
on his way to the castle.
He's
He
been
went off video.
Yeah, and he's muted. So,
Yeah. Maybe he got a call or something.
yeah.
Right, it's architect.
There.
Oh, there you are.
You
What
just can't
happened to
escape
you?
this group.
Yeah.
Right, the architect.
I wandered out of the room.
I wondered when I first came on, I didn't know who you were because you're wearing a hat.
Cold.
There you go.
He might be Dave Clary if he's wearing a hat. Oh,
Yeah.
Hey,
Jim,
it's the
Dave.
Camera Club hat.
Whoa,
Oh, yeah.
look at that.
Cool.
Wow.
Right.
Okay, Jim, are you up next?
Jim, the architect was Henry Atherton Schultz.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, you said it was built by inmates at San Quentin and Folsom.
No, they made the bricks.
Oh, they made the bricks.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, my nephew was a prison guard at Folsom. It's a pretty rough prison. So
Yeah, I went to Folsom once.
yeah.
We didn't go on the tour in the prison, so.
Well, let's see if I can hang on a second here. Let me not share that. Come back here for a second. Okay, now come up here. Okay, let me try it now. This one. Let me.
You got it.
Yep, now we see.
All right. We'll make that full screen. Move this down here. One of the things Cam said was that, and this was for everyone except for Elaine, said you should put your name on the front of the book. And mine is on the spine, and I think that's good advice, you know.
Mine's on the back cover.
Yeah. And if you think about it, every book I've seen usually has the author's name, you know, on the front cover. So anyway, the book is titled Mostly Pears. I've had with that picture of the Louvre pyramid. One of my cousins who I gave this book to, she thought it was mostly Paris. And she started looking through. She said she started looking through the book and she said, "These don't look like they're in Paris." Then she went back and read the title. So so what this is mostly Paris. Cam says I don't need to say it's a photo book because that's what it is. So so I'll read what I wrote here. I've traveled to 32 countries with my camera, and I enjoy making photographs of those things that interest me. Therefore, I do not categorize myself as a photographer who falls into a particular genre. My photographic interests are eclectic. I believe that photographs should speak for themselves, so I do not make an artist statement, which I think are merely inventions of academia to justify the awarding of BFAs or MFA degrees in photography. Keeping with that idea, there are no titles for the photographs in the book. I believe that you should enjoy the photographs for what they are and attach any story that you might like. The book, with some exceptions, is designed to show related photos or on facing pages. The photo pages are not sequenced in any way since they are not part of any one particular project. These photos are made in Norway, Italy, Mongolia, Iceland, France, and the US. This is a photo I made of my my friend Rochelle. She lives back in North Carolina now. When I met her in South Dakota at a workshop. She was one of the models. The workshop was called Nudes in the Badlands. And so we were on Ocracoke Island when I made this photo of her. These are two photos from Iceland. You've probably seen them. I think they were in one of the competitions.
Wow.
The image on the left, the the woman, that's a woman named not Rochelle, but Rochelle, and she lives in New Mexico. I think she was about 20 or 21 when I made this photo of her. And we were in Iceland in 2016, I think it was 2016, I believe. And it was in the wintertime, at the end of winter. It was in March, and you can see there was still quite a bit of snow. And it was snowy and windy, and it would go from being winter like this, and you drive 20 miles, and it'd be bright sun. It was really, really weird. These photos were in Paris. The street is just like half a block or a block from the hotel. I stay in a hotel called La Louisiane. It's right in the Quartier Latin, the Latin Quarter. And I spent a lot of time eating in this area. There's some really nice restaurants there. And these are both, I made both of these with my phone. It's pretty interesting. The French eat late, and so 10 o'clock at night I could get I'd be out exploring the city. I'd come back, and around 9:30, 10 o'clock I'd go out and get something to eat. These are at the Louvre, and they're the famous pyramids. I think it was Van der Mees who designed them. No, it was a Japanese guy. I can't remember his name now, who designed them. They're really kind of stark contrast to the modern structures to the buildings of the Louvre.
Pay. I am pay.
Okay, that's right. That's it exactly.
You're right.
These were made in Norway in 2017 in a little place called Vågå. And it's about a 4-hour drive through the mountains from Oslo. And I got a ride with a couple of my Norwegian friends, Ellie and I can't remember her first name now, but Nina and Ellie. We broke down 3 times on the drive. She had bought Nina had bought a truck, actually a van that she was converting to a camper, and they told her it was only had 5,000 miles on it, but the first time we broke down and I opened up the engine compartment, it was just this thing must have had 50,000 miles at least on it. So they really sold her a bill of goods on it. The woman here, her name, these are her hands, and she's British. Her name is Mishka Scott, and she had this really beautiful skin tone. It's just quite amazing. You can see how curly her hair is. And this is at the hotel in Vågå. The hotel is an operational hotel, and we had all these naked women running around through the hotel, which the Norwegians don't really care, so it wasn't a big deal. These are on the Grand Canal in Paris, and I made these when I was riding on a Vaporetto. The Grand Canal is a major highway through.
You just said the Grand Canal in Paris.
Oh, Paris. I'm sorry, Venice. Well, you see, it rained a lot in Paris.
There are canals in Paris.
Yes, yeah, I know. Yeah, in Venice. This is from that series I did with my brother called The Man in Black. And I think you've seen at least one of these in competition. This is again in Venice, and it's in the lagoon on Vaporetto, going over to a place called I can't remember the name of it now.
What's the name of it?
Burano.
Burano, that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
The glass place.
Yeah. No, not Murano, Burano.
Oh,
Burano.
Burano with a B.
It's another place very famous because they make particular things with the
Yeah.
silk. So Murano with the M is famous for the glass. Murano
Yes.
with the B is famous for this particular thing.
Yeah, they make a lot of lace, and it's a tourist attraction because the houses are painted really bright colors, blues and oranges and yellows and purples and reds. So it's quite a tourist attraction. This is another photo of Rochelle. This is in South Dakota in the Badlands, both of them. Now she was one of the models, and I have a friend named Ken Jackson, and he was in the workshop with me, and now the two of them are married. So they struck up a let's say friendship at the workshop. These are there's a place in an antique store in LA. It used to be Santa Monica. It's moved someplace now. I've lost track of it, but it's called Obsolete, and they had all these obsolete things there. Really unusual antiques. It's not your usual antique store. And I asked the guy who owns it if I could come in and make photographs, and he said, sure, just come on in. So I brought in a tripod, and I spent probably 4 or 5 different trips there making photographs of the merchandise. This is back in Venice, and this right here on the right-hand side, you can see this area right here. That's part of the Campanile. It's the foundation of the Campanile, which is the big bell tower in St. Mark's. And then behind it, over on this side, is the Doge's Palace. Over here, this is the Doge's Palace here, and then in the background, this is St. Mark's Basilica.
I love the light on that.
Yeah, it's those lights are pretty amazing. They they're street lights, and this was probably about I'm thinking this is probably about 6 in the morning, something like that. But it's really beautiful when the sun goes down or before it's come up with the lights. This is a velodrome. This one you've seen this one. This one is the same velodrome.
Picture that.
I'm sorry. These two are in Mongolia. The lady here is shearing sheep, and you can see all the sheep wool piled up here. There's something like 1 million sheep in Mongolia, and I don't know, 500,000 camels and like 2 million horses or something like that. It's amazing. She's a nomad, and they have access to the land. There's a very weak understanding of private property over there. Nomads can go wherever they want. You cannot restrict them, and there are virtually no fences in Mongolia, except around houses or maybe for a corral or something like that, but everything's completely open. We ran into a number of times. We ran into herds of horses. It must have had 1,000 horses. It was just amazing. You'd see them off in the distance, and then you drive up to them, and they weren't afraid of you. Like some of the horses in the U.S., some of the wild horses, they'll run away from you, but these horses didn't seem to care. And this is I made in San Francisco. I mean, sorry, not San Francisco, New York. And it's at the Apple Store. I was just standing there, and I watched this little girl come over and help her little brother pee on the Apple Store. And I like the woman's expression here.
Her iPhone had just broken.
Say what?
Her iPhone had just broken down.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Wasn't waterproof.
This is a photo I made of her name is Amanda. She was in Redondo Beach for a day, for a couple of days actually, and she'd come down and was modeling for a friend of mine, and so I had access to a studio for a few weeks, and for about a month, I guess, and so I made these in studios. I'm really not a studio person, but I think they came out okay.
Very nice.
And you might think I have a thing for Rochelle because this is her again. I said Rochelle. This is in South Dakota in the Badlands. The place that we stayed at was called Circle View Ranch, and they had a bunkhouse about 100, no, maybe 200 yards away from the main house, and so we went down there and made some photos. I made these with a Holga camera, so these are scanned from the negatives. This is what it is. I don't think it needs any explanation. So, and these are well, the one on the left is in Hollywood, and the one on the right was made in Oslo. The one on the right was made with a cell phone, and the one on the left was made with my Canon 50mm lens. These are back in Iceland, and these are the Iceland horses. It's interesting, they're a subspecies that they've been isolated. Oh, excuse me, I'm talking about the wrong horses. I'm thinking of the ones in North Carolina. No, these are a particular breed, and they use them for all kinds of things, and when they get old, they eat them.
They eat them?
They eat them.
Wow. They're very hardy horses from what I understand.
They are. When they first brought them over to Iceland, these horses don't have barns. They're in the weather all the time. And you can tell which way the wind is blowing because their butts are always into the wind. And they're just, I mean, it can be, really, really many degrees below zero, and these horses are still out there. But when they first brought them over, something like 90% of the horses died. And then over the years, of the centuries, actually, they've developed a tolerance for the wind, and they have really, really thick coats. They're very curious animals. They'll come over to you and want you to touch them and pet them. And you can see on you can see what it's like here on the right-hand side. What kind of weather? I mean, what kind of weather that they're subjected to. We could get back in our car and get warm, but those guys are stuck out there.
So are these wild horses?
They are not wild. People own them, and they provide an area for them. You can see fencing here. You can see a little bit in the background here, these little stakes. So they do have them contained, but and they feed them. So when we were there, the guy came out with his tractor, opened the gate, had a bunch of hay on the back, took it out in the field and dropped it off, and then came back and talked to us about it.
And they don't have any wind breaks or anything.
Well, there are occasionally you'll see some wind breaks, which is just solid fences, just walls basically that the horses can get behind, but they're not very big. So you know, they're just subject to the to nature.
Wow.
And I don't know if it gets really hot in Iceland. I kind of doubt it. It's so far north, but it does get really cold. It was when we were there. It was 0 degrees, 0 degrees centigrade. So you know that's freezing. In fact, it got a little colder than that. This is another one of Rochelle, and this is on Ocracoke Island. Both of these are on Ocracoke Island, which is a barrier island off of the coast of North Carolina. It's south of Cape Hatteras, and you have to take a ferry over there. It's about a 2.5 hour ferry ride over. These are back in Paris. You saw this one. This is the Eiffel Tower. This here is the Royal Palace. I can never remember if it's the Palais Royal or the other one, Grand Palais. But they're right across the river from each other. I made this one from the what was it? The Frederick III Bridge, and this one was you can see a little bit of Frederick III Bridge here. So I was just standing on the quay here and made straight across, and then we walked up on the bridge and made this photo over here. And that's it.
Very nice.
Oh, thanks.
It's nice.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I like the concept of the pears and
Yeah, it just because I couldn't think of anything else to do. And I didn't,
I thought you could have put a few words there, like Rochelle or whatever her name is, and
I didn't want to put labels on them. I know what you're saying, but I didn't think it was.
they are. I mean, obviously some are Paris and some are Venice, but
Right.
yeah.
Well, he clarified that on his front page about what he intended with the book. There were
Right.
no labels.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't mind it of seeing the Iceland pony juxtaposed with your obsolete toy horse.
Oh, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
because the reason they eat them is they get sick of eating fish.
So I'll read you what Cam wrote. He said, great look and feel to the book, color, layout, and typography, all working to show off the photographs themselves. Subtle placement of page numbers. That's something I learned from him. Not sure you need to say a photo book in the title page, which is what I said. It says nice paperweight and most importantly, wonderful, eclectic, but thoughtfully paired images. I put your name on the cover somewhere. Then he said that the title and spine have different fonts, which they did. So that's something I didn't think about. He says there's many standout photos here. I particularly like the street scene pairings on page 5 and 6. Those are the ones that I said were made with my cell phone in Paris.
Yes.
He says the bouncing flowers vase, he said it's beautiful, but and the peeing child seem out of place. Both of those he didn't think belonged in the book. Not because they are single images, but because the subjects and framing change the flow of the book. So that's what he had to say.
That's a really good critique.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Yeah.
And that was first place?
Yeah.
Well deserved.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Nice, very nice.
Okay, Elaine, you're up.
Well, let's see if this is going to work. It's telling me I need to allow WebEx meetings to record to my computer screen so that I can share. Is that typical?
Yeah, you have to have, well, record. No, that's not typical.
No.
It says allow WebEx meetings to record your computer screen.
Well, go ahead and click yes, whatever.
Open system preferences, it says. Oh man, hope this is gonna work.
You don't have a share button down at the bottom?
That's what, when I click the share, it's grayed out and that's what.
And you're on Mac?
Yeah. Maybe I joined the meeting through the last invite. There was an earlier invite that looked different. Should I try to get in?
There was only one invite.
I got 2.
Hmm.
Oh, let me
Did you click share or start video?
share. Yeah, it says it's share. It wants allow the apps below to record the contents of your screen, even while using other apps. But it's kind of grayed out. I don't know where I'm.
It sounds like a permissions problem. Hey, there you go.
There you go.
Well, that was Alan.
Yeah, I was just playing around with this. Sorry about that.
I don't even know how to answer this because it's grayed out. It's not even.
Well, can you stop sharing and try starting over once Alan gets off?
Stop sharing and okay. The only thing I can think to do, it's grayed out. The share button is kind of grayed out. When I hover over it, that's when I get that message.
Did you click on it though?
Yeah, and when I click on it, it opens system preferences, but then my options are grayed out.
Do you join by clicking the link, or do you have the application on the?
I clicked the actual link.
Can you go up to the top and see where it says file, edit, share?
Share.
You have
share my meeting window.
Your toolbox up at the top. There you go.
There you go. There you go.
Well.
Oh, wait.
Okay, so now.
Yeah, but she's sharing the wrong screen.
Right. Yeah, I see that. Yeah. Well, we know she can share.
Yeah.
But she apparently can't share her application.
Yeah.
So.
Did you have it open in the background on your desktop?
Down at the bottom or something?
What I want to share?
Yeah.
You have to have it open first.
It's there. It's open.
It's open on your desktop. Okay.
Well, let me try it and see.
You have to stop sharing the screen.
Sharing my screen.
You need to stop.
Go up to the top and.
Yeah.
There you go.
I stopped that.
What did you click on? Did you say share my meeting window or share content?
The only one that is available to me is to share my meeting window. The content is grayed out. All of them are grayed out except for the meeting window. It's not giving me permission for some reason.
Oh, it's
All
not.
right, well, I've got it, so I can
Since
share.
I never had the problem until I upgraded. And since I've upgraded,
The latest, and I don't have a problem.
You know, it might be a security setting on your computer that says you can't share it. So I don't know. You might have to go into preferences in your computer, but
yeah,
I really don't know.
I don't know. How frustrating.
Okay, do you want me to share it for you?
I could go to system preferences, but everybody doesn't want to wait so long. So let's just let Greg do this. The only problem with this is we get to see, we don't get to see an open book spread. So it's kind of. Okay, what we do now? Okay, we're going to start on page with the introduction.
Sure.
Come on, let me see.
That's good. That works.
Okay. Yeah, because we're on page 8. I can go, there we go. Here, cover.
There's a cover.
That's beautiful.
I did put the my name. I changed the opacity of the font so that it wasn't quite as didn't stand out quite as much. And that's next. And then I did put my name on the title. Next. Oh, I just put a little statement. Do you want me to read what I said?
Sure.
I said, I shall remember to be mindful, to watch my step, to leave things as they are found, to be appreciative and respectful of our natural world. And there's just something about Carrizo Plains that just, I don't know what it is about the place, but it means a lot to me. And even before the club had this assignment to make a book, I knew I wanted to put together some things to make a book of this place. And it just never felt like the right time. I always feel like I need to get more. And even when I did this, I always thought, well, maybe I should wait. You know, there's always that one more better image waiting to take. So, but you have to finally decide to finally just do it. So that's what I did. And I just said, this book is about my love and appreciation of Carrizo Plains, the largest single area of native grasslands in California and home to 13 endangered species. It has also been designated as a dark sky area, blah, blah, blah. Talked about the fault. And Carrizo Plains is a place for quiet contemplations, a place for exploring dirt roads and listening to the sounds of nature, a place to reflect on our history and to be in the moment at the same time. And I just said it was 20 years ago when they made this into a national monument.
What, Elaine, what is dark sky area?
Well, we have a lot of light pollution.
Uh-huh.
And the light pollution is getting worse all the time. So there's certain designated areas in the country that they have designated as dark sky areas where the pollution isn't so great, it's minimal. So that for people who want to view the night sky, those are the best places to go.
Very good.
And I did a lot of text in this. I'm definitely not going to read all of the text, but this is just talking about when they named it. And not everybody called it Carrizo Plains in the beginning. A lot of people called it Carissa. Mm-hmm. And they finally adopted Carrizo as its authentic name. And it actually means... what does it say? It was originally Llano Estero Salty Marsh. Oh, it was named Carrizo because of the first settlers to the area. They had a ranch, and their ranch was called Carrizo.
That's that double page layout like that is I really like that. How do you put the text?
Yeah, I like pictures without text. I do think that the text tends to take away from the images sometimes. But I did change the opacity of the text a little bit so that it didn't seem so jarring. But yeah, I thought that for this book, it was important to put down the information. I did it for myself as much as anything, because as you can tell, I kind of have trouble remembering some of these facts. And
but the way you've combined the images with the text, it really is really a nice layout.
yeah, I tried to tell a story about the place. I tried to follow a certain sequence. I started with the borders of the park are marked by the Temblor Range, Caliente Range, and so this is creates the eastern boundary. But this, and then this is the Cayuma Valley on the other side of the Caliente Range that borders the western edge of the monument.
I love the skylights coming in.
Yeah.
We used to watch the weather and when it was going to rain, but it wasn't going to be, a huge downpour where we couldn't travel on the dirt roads. We would head out there, and I love being out there in those conditions. And then I had to put some images where we have the wildflower displays. This was in 2017. And this was in 2019.
Is that mustard or what type of flowers?
Actually, they're called gold fields, and the orange in the foreground is fiddlenecks.
Okay.
There's some phacelia. It's really a mixture, but all that intense yellow is very low to the ground, and I think that is yellow carpet.
Mm.
This is a field of Coreopsis, and anybody who's gone out there for the wildflower display, this is a very popular area on the north end.
Watch out for snakes.
Yeah, watch out for snakes. This is Soda Lake in 2019 when we actually had a really good year.
Is that lake just from rainfall, or is it spring fed, or?
It's a not spring fed. Well, I don't know, because it seems like there's areas that never really dry, but this does. The lake does go mostly dry.
Okay.
It takes a good rainfall to fill it. This is the only time I've seen it this full, and it's a large area. It goes over a very large area, and you can see even this is the same year, and even with all that water, the edges of it had some dry patches.
Uh-huh.
This is that same picture I had on the cover. And I just like the atmosphere from, the filtered light and all
That's
that.
really nice.
Thank you. A section of pavement on Soda Lake Road.
Is that the entry road that we came in on?
The Soda Lake Road is the main road that goes clear across the park.
Right.
And a lot of it is dirt, but there are sections of it that are paved.
But this is you enter it off of what's the highway? 57?
Yeah, Soda Lake
58.
connects to 166, and then it connects to
58.
58.
Okay, yeah.
On the north end. And these are just some examples of some of the wildflowers that we've seen while we were there. There's from the top left across is phacelia, lupin, poppies, sand fringe pods, thistle sage, and the desert candle. And you don't see them every year, but
They're going through photo books that people have done and with, and they're really, really good.
no, thank you. These are some fiddlenecks and lacy phacelia. Top is the snake's head, then the cream cup, owl's clover, and coreopsis. This is the valley floor with owl's clover and lananthus.
That's really beautiful with the purple, green, and yellow.
Yeah, mostly when we're out there, we see a lot of yellow and we see some orange, but this was the largest area of the owl's clover that I had seen before. And this is an old wooden planter that we visit quite often. And as you can see in the springtime, it's covered with the flowers in that area. Goldfields, I think those are. But I just, since we visit the same area repeatedly, I thought it was good to see how the different years have a much different effect on the landscape. This is in the same month. They're all in March. And in 2014, when we had the drought, this was the best it got. And then in 2010, we had a lot of rain, but they say the timing of the rain affects the flowers. And when the greenery and the grasses get tall, it chokes out the flowers. So even if we get a lot of rain, we don't always get the flowers. So these are mostly milkfish with the fiddlenecks.
That's really nice with the kind of haze you get there, or
the atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah. I have a lot of pictures on really bright sunny days, but I tend to like the more atmospheric pictures.
Yeah.
This is the yellow carpet at the base of the Calientes.
What time of day do you go? Early morning or?
We've gone really early morning, but usually if I make the trek out there, we stay all day. And what I love about a stormy day is that the light filters in and out and you can photograph all day. It just depends on, the cloud cover and the amount of light that comes through. This shows the Elkhorn Scarp at the base of the Temblor Range. And I kind of talked about how that was lifted from the San Andreas Fault. These are not the best pictures. These are ones I kind of hurried up and took so I could add them to the book. The top left image is what is known as a sag pond, and that is where the road comes closest to the San Andreas Fault. The sag pond is right in the fault line. In the bottom picture, just another picture that shows the Elkhorn Scarp. And then one of the popular destinations of a lot of visitors is to visit Wallace Creek. You can see how the creek bed is kind of in an S shape. And that's in 1857, they had an earthquake that pushed the river apart and changed the course of the river. I don't think it all happened in one earthquake. The one in 1857 was a very large earthquake and had a big dramatic effect on it, but it's continually moving over time, and that gap will continue to get bigger.
In I think something like 1803, 1820, something like that, they had that New Madras earthquake.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was so large, it was something like 8.9 or some huge, but it changed the course of the Mississippi River, if you can imagine that.
Yeah. Well, these are where the two tectonic plates meet. And so they're, they just shift, and one will slide in one direction and one slides in the other. We got lucky to see a rainbow one time when we were there. Most of the pictures in this book were taken within a 2-year period, but there are some pictures in here that are quite older. And this is up on the Caliente Ridge looking down onto Painted Rock. And this is just some of the examples of the pictographs at Painted Rock. They were from the Chumash and Yoku Indians. And they date back as far as 2000 BC. It's still considered a sacred site. I know one time Ron and I went out there and there was a badger claw that had been cut off of the animal, and it was sitting on a rock in the center of that alcove. And I photographed it, but I didn't include it in the book. But we talked about it at the visitor center, and they said, yeah, they discouraged that, but they still do kind of sacrifices and stuff and have ceremonies out there.
You mean the Native Americans?
Yeah.
Be careful you find yourself buried up to your neck in sand.
Yes. This is Selby Rocks, and that place is just covered with mortar holes, and they say that must have been an important food preparation area.
Mm.
It's seasonally closed. It's really hard to get into it because of the barbed wire fencing, and they close it for the protection of the birds. This is there's like you can walk through this ravine. There's a big ravine there, and you can scramble and get up in those rocks if you want to. This is that barn that sits across from the Selby Rocks, the Selby Ranch. And then I talked about the ranching history of the place. There was a lot of controversy about whether cattle should still be allowed to graze there. And the belief at one time was that if you let the cows in seasonally, they will eat the non-native grasses when they first emerge. And then as the native grasses start growing, they remove the cows, and it's supposed to give the native grasses a more competitive edge. But there's a lot of conservationists who fought to remove the cattle from the monument. And I researched it, and it wasn't really clear to me what the agreement was, but they reached some sort of agreement. And for the most part, they're not allowed in the monument, but I wouldn't say that they're never allowed. Several years ago, a lot of us went out on a field trip to this Saucedo farmhouse. And this is by tour. I mean, you have to have a guided tour to go out there, but they're in the process of restoring this ranch house. And it is, let's see, it was built in 1878. It's the oldest farmhouse still standing in Creso Plains. It was occupied from its early pioneer days and then by other families continuously through the late 1960s. It is currently being restored. That's the main part of it. And then you probably all saw a picture that Nyla took of this phone. As I said, we were all out there together on a field trip, and you still see all of the scribbled phone numbers around that phone. It was really quite interesting. Some other areas that Ron and I have explored with abandoned cars and farm equipment, tanks. This is the Van Mater Ranch site, which is where we took you out, Jim.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I recognize it.
And there are 3 or 4, I can't remember, 3, I think, old harvesters out there. And let's see.
They're all made out of wood too.
They're all heavy. They're all huge, made out of wood. Let's see, what did I? Oh, I'm not going to read all that.
The thing that surprised me is that it said that they were made in the 1940s.
Yeah.
Which I would have thought they were in the 20s, you know, just because they're made out of wood.
Yeah, and apparently they pulled them with horses when they first had them out there. It wasn't until, let's see, I think on another page I've got some information about that. Let's see, they were built in 1940s and they could cut and thrash wheat in a single operation. It took between 3 to 10 men to operate the harvesters.
And how many horses?
Let's see, it says they could be pulled with horses, but it took 16 to 20 horses to pull them. So when they introduced tractors, which weren't introduced there until the 1950s, but once they introduced the tractors in the 1950s, I guess the plains were just covered with fields, grain fields. Here's a few pictures of those harvesters. And then I got close in and took a couple abstracts. I like all of the bird droppings.
Yeah.
This is just outside that ranch. There's the old well, what's left of it out there, and some cattle equipment. Old cattle trough. This is the day that we got in at the far south entrance is Travers Ranch, and there's a lot of equipment that's out there that you can walk around and look at. But the area with the bat house is usually locked, and it was open the day that we were there, and we were able to walk around. But I don't think it was supposed to be open. I don't know what this piece of equipment is, but it's maybe part of a grain elevator. I don't know, but it's
No, not a grain elevator.
no part of something. I don't know.
Part of Noah's Ark.
I just talked about how there are mostly dirt roads, and they vary in condition, and they should be avoided at all costs during inclement weather. Ed can attest to that. After rain, it can take up to 2 weeks for a road to dry, enough to travel on, especially those cutting across the plains, because they are in a lower elevation and the water just kind of sits there, doesn't drain very well. And so when the roads on the edge are dry, you go in the middle and you find out they're still wet. This is a blunt-nosed leopard lizard. These are listed as endangered. And we were out there. We've seen him a couple times out there. If you look at the one on the right, it looks like he just ate something. I think that's blood on his mouth. And then the pronghorn. I didn't realize it, but the pronghorn cannot jump over fences. They crawl under fences. And so as their habitat is being all fenced up, they are very threatened. And so part of the project in the plains is to replace those barbed wire fences with non-barbed fences, at least on the bottom where they can go under the fences.
So they cannot jump?
They cannot jump over the fences.
The fences are too high.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would have to be a really low fence before they could jump over them.
Yeah.
And so
my experience is that deer will also, by preference, crawl under the fence versus jumping over it.
Yeah,
because of the danger of disemboweling themselves if they get caught on the fence.
Yeah.
yeah, smart. But then with the barbed wire fences, a lot of them get caught trying to go under too.
Yeah.
And then the elk were introduced to the Carrizo Plains in 1985, and they're doing very well. We went out there, this I think is the first year that we actually went out in summer because it gets really hot out there. So we went out in the evenings, and we got a beautiful sunset this particular evening when we went out there. And I was surprised, as dry and hot as it was, there were still flowers to be seen. And then I just talked about it being, the dark sky area, one of our favorite places to photograph at night. When we went out there at night, we had the kangaroo rats came out and they were jumping around at our feet. The bats were flying around our heads. And there were so many owls out there. Before it got really dark, you would see them, but they're so quiet. It was eerie. As they would fly by, you couldn't hear a sound. And I just thought it was really cool being out there at night. We tried different experiments with star trails, and that was the first star trail picture I think I ever did. And we went out there to try to see Neowise, Comet Neowise. And the app that we had said there was going to be clear skies that night. So we headed out there, and as we got closer and closer, we could see this heavy cloud cover. But we had already gone so far, we decided, well, we might as well keep going. And I'm glad we stayed because we did get to see the comet even through the clouds. That is a crescent moon, but it was such a long exposure, it turned out looking like a full moon. And there's a tiny picture of the comet in the center. Then I tried the Perseid meteor shower, and I'd never photographed a meteor shower before either. And I didn't have the best foreground, but that was over by Selby Rocks.
How long of an exposure was that?
That was very quick, short exposures, but it was like doing a time lapse. I just kept shooting over and over and over, and then combined the best shots in Photoshop.
Oh,
those weren't all happening at the same time. It was on a tripod, so by doing a time lapse, you just would catch the meteors as they would go by, and then you combine them later. And I was surprised the colors in the meteors. You can see kind of flashes of color when they shoot across the sky, but it really picks up this yellow and green. You can't really see it in this photo unless you zoomed in, but they're really colorful. And at first I thought it was something wrong with my camera because they looked fake, but that's the colors that they really are.
You didn't have a problem with the stars shifting their positions when you were doing the time exposure?
Yeah, they do shift, but you don't take all of the stars. There's a special process where you just get the comets or the meteors. I'll have to tell you about it later when we have more time.
Okay, thanks.
Anyway, that was it. I got most of my information online when I was researching things, and also from some of the signs posted out there. That's it.
Good job.
Good.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice.
What
I
do you
really
think? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I really appreciated the fact that he took the time to do this critique. It meant a lot to me. So if I can read it, it's very dark here. He said simple, elegant cover design and beautiful images. The text was informative and helpful. There are a few minor typos. I made a lot of, actually quite a few typos, which kind of made me mad because I know better than that. And I got in a hurry and I didn't proofread well enough. So I've corrected a lot of those typos and I haven't reprinted it, but I might someday. It says your choice of font was appropriate and graying out the text a bit was subtle and effective. You can leave the page numbers off the first few pages, start numbering on the first image page. I liked the inclusion of smaller details like the gears, pictographs, phone, and flowers. They make the experience of the book more immediate and personal. I enjoyed seeing the changes of season as demonstrated on the 3 images on page 37. A couple of the images have dark bands across the top. He named the pages that he was referring to. And he summed it up by saying, this is a nicely organized book, and it reminded me that this is a unique place that I would like to explore.
Very good.
Yep. Okay, Ed, are you going to share your book?
Before you go on,
What?
I'm just wondering, we had a lot of rain. I'm wondering whether it's going to be a nice area to go up in a week or two. Any thoughts on that?
A week or two might be too early.
Yeah,
The plants will come up. It'll take a while to have flowers.
probably the best time that we've noticed flowers is going to be late March. You might, check the different websites, the flower reports, and see.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Okay, Ed, you're up.
Okay, I'll talk to you a little bit about what our judge said while Penny tries to make this thing do its tricks. I thought he had a good sense of what I was after. He did not ding me for not having my name on the outside of the book, and I didn't include that. There was a reason for it. I really wanted this to be about the people. The book is 1585 Central Coast Renaissance Festival. And the focus is on the people of that event. The judge said, you did a nice job of organizing a huge number of photographs, giving the book a nice flow and clear thematic shift. Incidentally, there are about 500 photos in the book, I think. 240 pages. I'm not going to show you all these pages. We'll be here all bloody night. But I did pull out a few double truck examples to share. He said, remarkably well composed, sharp, and well exposed images. So you mentioned in your introduction that this is not a documentary. Whatever you call it, it is a wonderful and broad description of an event or series of events that you clearly have a passion for. It is an affectionate insider's view. The images demonstrate your ability to make the people you are photographing feel at ease. He says, as an outsider, the number of images is a bit overwhelming. In some ways, the volume of photographs overpowers the fine individual images, but I don't think that would be an issue for those who participated in this or other similar events. And he's absolutely right about that. I knew when I started the book that it had a rather narrow audience, specifically the people who are producing and participating, particularly reenactors, in this event. This is the Central Coast Renaissance Festival, and
hold on a second.
What am I holding on for?
What are you guys seeing? Are you seeing the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Let's see. It dates from, I think I mentioned here. This is from the festival years 2008 to 2019. So this is the COVID version of the Renaissance Festival. It was not held in 2020. And I had, I was aging in place like the rest of us. So I did a couple of things. I did this, and I also did a book, which I did not enter in the competition, of the Pismo Jazz Jubilee. And I'm working on another one of LP album covers of musicians that I've photographed there also. So we'll go through. It's just a kind of a random sampling of Double Truck to give you an idea of what I was doing with this. There's something. Okay, so one of the things you find at any Renaissance festival is this rope game, and I don't know if there's a name for it or not, but they do play it. A lot of the games there, one of the things that the appeal for me is that, and I like photographing these people having a great time, very low tech stuff. There's no electronics, they're just simple games. And some of my comments, I don't know if you can read these on the screen, so I'll go through this. The referee of the game offers this observation. Experienced players know well that tongue position is important in competition. Sure, the bystanders laugh, but this last wins her contest. Watch your stance and footwork, men, says the game master. Position is important, ladies, he advises. Lean far forward at the waist. The men of the gallery encourage the women to follow this good counsel and give little regard to footwork. Do I just brush it up like this? Okay. Again, more people here. The gal on the far left, I photographed her several times. A delightful lass. And the two girls also in the first page there. I asked them to do something Renaissance-y, and I got this. So, but I like it better than what they might have otherwise done. There we go. I'm not going to bother reading this whole thing except to say this one. The last picture above has exceeded her threshold for sustained silliness and has consequently collapsed to the ground in irrepressible laughter. I see this often. People are just, the silliness is part of the attraction and appeal for me. And people, I guess, like-minded like I am, they enjoy that and just, it's very light and lighthearted and frivolous stuff. The gal on the right is part of a dancing crew. Kids, they're there and they're huge fun to photograph. Very expressive, typical. I especially like the kid with the cabbage. These two guys, the guy on the left, I met him at the Irwindale Fair. His name is Merlin. And he's a great guy. That fair, I think the character and demeanor has changed. I think a new group has taken over, and frankly, I don't care for it as much as I used to. Merlin was a great guy, and he didn't want to see the changes and was very vocal about it, and they kicked him out, and he's not even allowed to attend as a, as a spectator anymore. When I found out about that, I became pretty much convinced that there was a change in management, and they had a different idea. Anybody that doesn't want Merlin around is probably not my kind of people. He's a great guy. The guy on the right plays the role of an ogre, and he's pretty good too. Did someone have a comment?
Yeah, you said Irwindale. Is that the one behind the dam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been there. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and it's fun, but it has changed and seems to me more sterile than it was a few years ago.
Yeah, I think
and it might have just been me. I've been one time since that change in management, and it could have just been me that day. I'll go again and see. Maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's just me.
Yeah, well, I was there about 7, 8 years ago. So.
Yeah, the change occurred maybe 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even 4.
Okay.
These gals are part of a dance troupe, and I mentioned, I think in the foreword, such as it is, a few paragraphs, the challenges of photographing the Renaissance Fair. The low light of morning and evening is not available to us. The fair doesn't start till I think 10 and shuts down at 6, and this is in July. So you don't get that low angled light, you don't get the warm light. And so, as I mentioned in the foreword, sometimes the best you can hope for is manageable light that you can deal with and make some compensations for. Under the canopies and in the tents that some of these people have, you can find nice soft light like this. And I think the girl on the right was photographed in the tent, and the girl on the left was, I think, photographed outside the tent on the shaded side. And the shady light, for my tastes, does wonderful things for the ladies. A few these are military people of the village, the Shire, as it were. And another guy here, one of the dancers. You got on the right, you can see the bagpipes, two players with bagpipes. A lot of the participants are very animated, as is this guy, and huge fun to photograph. Couples grace the Shire in various romantic arrangements and degrees of harmony. If it works for them, who's to judge? I made a print of this couple on the right and gave it to them the following year, and I have a picture of them holding up the picture of them. A lot of musicians, and again, harsh light. Do the best you can with it as you can. It's not very often I get a chance to photograph a nun playing bagpipes. So here's Sister Lady, whoever her name is, blowing the holy pipes. And I don't know what this instrument is on the right. He told me, but I don't remember the name of it.
Looks like a mandolin, but
well, it's a variation.
Right.
Metal lute.
Well, yeah, it's more of a lute type thing, I believe, but
yeah.
it had a different name that I'm not familiar with.
It's an oud.
A what?
An oud, O-U-D. It's Egyptian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I don't remember that being the name, but I believe you. On the left, we have this gal with the parasol, and that could be very helpful photographing the ladies because they have their own scrim. They provide their own shade. And some of the people dress up very elegantly, particularly like this lady on the right. Very, very fancy stuff. And hot. Man, the Queen's got more stuff to wear than you could ever imagine. This guy on the left puts my beard to shame, which is coming off pretty soon. And the guy on the right, it's not just some funky jive costume to wear for a Renaissance fair. This is the plague doctor. And this is the way they dressed. And they were supposed to be able to cure the villagers of the plague and anything else. I think the sight of him might have scared a lot of diseases out of without having much to go much further than that. Again, simple games, chess, obviously. This guy on the right is showing the kids how to play another game. The people who worked with the kids were really good at it. This elderly gentleman that's working with them, he does other things there at the festival too, but he's real good with the kids. And there's a pirate crew. I think I might have some photos of it in this. I'll hold off on talking much about it, but they do a sword thing with balloons, and the kids just go nuts. They think it's great. I try to get some of these pictures are, well, most of them are unposed. I find I get a more relaxed and a more genuine sense of the activity if I just photograph them doing their thing. Some of them are posed, like the dancers and the two portraits of the dancers, but mostly, a lot of these are unposed. I like the wide angle on the left. It's probably about 16 millimeters. Probably about 28 maybe on that, or 20. And these are, again, mostly in shaded areas. And this gal on the left had, well, she's got the other half of her face too. She showed up with both sides of her face, but she was half elf, and I thought, well, let's just do a half shot of this and kind of exaggerate the idea of being half elf. It's not these two left and right are not the same person. And okay, Her Majesty the Queen arrives. Sir Walter Raleigh. This was the guy that was playing the game with the kids too. And he told me, he says, the Queen's going to arrive and I'm going to do the Sir Walter Raleigh cape thing. And, so it was nice to have a heads up on that. And I was able to photograph this. Sir Walter Raleigh, ever resourceful, also arrives with his instant puddle, just add water, and his cape, and chivalry is born. When Her Majesty steps on the whoopee cushion beneath Sir Walter's cape, oh, won't she be amused, to whisper someone, perhaps a photographer, might have been me. In fact, no such tomfoolery occurs, and the Queen is impressed and flattered by the gesture. Her subjects do genuinely appear to love and respect her, and these feelings are reciprocal. The Queen does not arrive alone. A collection of nobility and attendants travel with her. She and they make their way to the Queen's court, recently established in the village for this special day. And and that was a challenge. The light was extremely harsh, and it required a lot of fuss in Lightroom to balance it out a little better. More sort of pirate types. Can we turn off the phone?
Well,
What the hell is that all
I don't
about?
know who the hell is.
Mute it.
I can't. It's not a cell phone. It's a landline.
Turn it off. And the dogs, they're off, which is good. Pirate stuff. And the knights in shining armor.
It's an old-fashioned phone.
The last couple years, they haven't had the horses. They've done groundwork knights with their battle axes and every other kind of thing till you can't rest, but not the horses. The horses were pretty expensive. In 2017, I think it was, we had rain in July, heavy rain, and it cut back attendance to the festival. It cost the merchants money because there weren't people there to buy stuff, and so the festival was shy on cash. And so the following year, instead of having the knights on their horses, they hired a less expensive program where they just did groundwork with their swords and stuff. And it was very well received by attendees. And they did that last year. I don't know if they'll be bringing the horses back sometime or not, but I suspect eventually they might. But the other's gone well. But I like this guy and his horse. He's monster cool. The juggling school, and this guy on the right, on the left side, was the instructor. He also does a comedy act for the festival. And here we have pirates. I love this guy on the right. He's cool, as is the guy on the left, but I like the light on this. And this was pretty much, I don't remember what was causing the shade around him. I did exaggerate that in Lightroom for the print, but he was really standing out there. Might be it.
Yeah, I like the guy on the left too.
What's that? Yeah, he's cool. There was another guy that got a picture, a real close-up shot of the guy, which is really nice, but it wasn't my picture, so I couldn't put it in my book, but he did a nice job, I think. More people, and I like the one on the right more than the one on the left. The one on the left is posed. The one on the right is more spontaneous and has more of a story. There's something going on there, which is why I like the unposed ones generally better. Same thing with this. This stack is about to fall down. This is a game called Jenga, and I have several pages of this game. They stack these blocks up. You're probably familiar with it. You've seen it in a smaller scale, and you have to remove a block. You can touch only the block you're removing and then place it at the top of the stack, and it keeps getting taller until eventually it falls over. I've always got that. A lot of good expressions from people with that. Some of the musicians and performers. And again, harsh light on these guys. Getting this guy on the right so that the flames really show up was, once I figured out how to do it, it went a little easier, but it was, it's a challenge in direct sunlight. I guess that's the last one. Yeah. So again, I didn't want to show all 240 pages of it. There probably is about 500 photographs. I thought the judge was pretty much spot on with his comments, and I agreed with him that it has a somewhat limited audience, being these people. But the comments I've gotten from, well, there's only 2 copies in print so far, and the comments I've gotten so far from the festival people is that they, things like, I can't put it down. This is exactly what we do. And you captured the mood. It's very, very positive and satisfying for me that I was able to carry the demeanor of the event with those photos. Questions, comments, short stories, or jokes?
Well, I've been there, tried to photograph the people. They're all so interesting and fun to photograph. But the light, oh man, you did really well, because mine are so contrasting. I mean, there was a couple that I got that are okay, but for the most part, I have not done well photographing that event.
Well, I have a lot of photographs that don't work, but in recent years, I've you do it. I've done it a lot. I go I've gone to Irwindale several times. I've gone to a few other festivals several times. I've been to the Central Coast Festival since 2008 or 2009, something like that. And I've done a lot of it. And so naturally with experience, you figure out what works and what doesn't. And I know from experience what kind of light is manageable and what isn't. And I'm getting a higher percentage of keepers now. And I look for situations in places where I think I can make the light work. And sometimes I can't, sometimes, this is, I like what's going on here, but I can't make it happen. The people there are, the reenactors are very familiar with me now, and I can wander about and it's like I'm not even there. So I get more of the genuine activity and less histrionics. And I think that makes for better photographs too. And I've had that same situation with the Jazz Festival. I've photographed the Pismo Beach Jazz Festival now for several years. And they give me passes and I have stage access and I get to do all these things. And the musicians that have seen me before and seen my work, they're very relaxed with me up there. Last year, there was a man playing flute from Australia. And I wanted to get a close up of the wide angle. And between songs, I asked him, I says, I'd like to get really close to you with a wide angle and photograph you playing. I says, is it okay? He says, yeah, I think so. I says, I'm going to be right up here on stage, right next to you. He says, yeah, go ahead. And, that kind of cooperation really increases your opportunities. And that's what I've gotten there. One interesting, so they know me and they know my work and I get eye contact. And last year they gave me an official press pass for the event, which I'd never worn before. And boy, that makes a big difference. Even people that never seen me before, they're all right there, ready ready to become famous for the press. But that kind of thing is what I've seen at the Renaissance Fair, is that they're familiar with me and I can wander about pretty much invisible. There was a story I think it was in National Geographic, about a guy who was photographing a school somewhere. I don't believe it was stateside, but it might have been. And he was in the classroom. And after a week or two being in the classroom with this camera, the kids didn't even notice him anymore. And that's when he was able to really photograph what was going on in that classroom. And I think that's what's paid off for me the last several years at the Renaissance Festival. Other comments, jokes, stories?
Good.
Well, I just, that one image that you took is like a supper. It reminded me of the Last Supper almost, where they're sitting at a table and you put that image in the fair. That's one of my favorite images of yours. And
yeah,
that must be in the book somewhere.
I think it is. And in fact, that picture is the one that generated a contact from the guy running the fair. I think we're thinking of the same one. It was the Queen and her court, and they were all at a long table having lunch.
Mm-hmm. That was the one.
And I looked, I said, well, I want to photograph these guys. And I got so much white table. But if you get lower, you get the edge of the table and not so much white. And oh yeah, this is it. And I made that photograph. And I think the first contact I got via email from Rick Smith, who's one of the big mucky mucks for the festival, he mentioned that photograph. And from there, I ended up getting free passes and doing photography for the fair.
Yeah.
But so I know the one you mean.
Yeah. So talking about food, when I saw that turkey leg, I almost had to, I wouldn't say barf, but I bought a turkey leg and it just drove me crazy because I couldn't eat it. And my hands were all sticky and there's not enough places to wash your hands. I went, what do they do this for? And there's an animal I can give this to. That was like the biggest mistake I ever made, was getting a turkey leg. But
I can relate to
you
that.
sure brought it back to me.
Well, I bought one at Irwindale and I'll never do it again.
No.
For one thing, it wasn't very good. And for the other thing is all the things you mentioned, I couldn't eat I didn't want to eat the whole thing because it wasn't very good. And then, like you say, it's a mess and oh my gosh. So I won't do that again. The food at the Central Coast fare is, I think, reasonably priced and generally pretty good. It's not like what I get at home with Penny. She's the master chef, but it's good. But I won't get a turkey leg. I'm
No,
done
I
with
won't
that.
do that twice. That was a big mistake.
Hey, Cheryl, do you want to share your book?
Uh-oh. Cheryl.
She may have stepped away.
I bored her to death and she's gone.
She turned her screen off, so, but
Do you have someone else to share a book too? Maybe they could go now.
Cheryl, you want me to share your
Oh,
book?
there she is.
We can't hear you. Hello? Oh, you're still muted. No, can't hear you.
Do you know sign language? There we go. Much better.
He said good night.
Bye.
You were coming in so clear earlier.
No, we're still not getting you.
Right. We understand that she say, I don't know.
Send her a chat.
Now she's panic. Now she says some word that is better not to say.
I'm glad Flavio's a lip reader.
You can tell by her lips that they're all 4 letters.
Yeah, exactly.
You have access, Greg, to turn her on.
I can't. I've tried. So, I mean, I can step through her book.
It's her microphone.
I know. I can't make comments about her book, but I can step through it.
You're working on it. No?
No. Now she speaks with the husband and say, what are you doing?
1 second.
1 second, 1 second. Did you pay the bills? Which bills?
Do we have any other show and tell meanwhile? Did anyone else have photos to share?
I do. I've got my book.
Why don't you start yours, and then when they get theirs figured out, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Greg's book.
All right, you guys seeing this?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I have been making photo books since the 70s. In those days, we took real pictures, printed them, hand typed up the dialogue, and put them in those self-sticky photo books. But whenever I take a big trip with my friends or whatever, we would always keep a journal, and we take our pictures and always put together a photo book. So when digital came along, I just kept doing that. This is a trip I took in 2018 with my sister-in-law and her husband to Maine for 2 weeks. And the title, A Fall in Maine, is kind of an inside joke. When we were at Acadia National Park headquarters, the visitor center, I tumbled down the large hand-hewn granite staircase with my camera under me, and all. I took quite the fall, and I had all these people running over trying to save me. And the rest of the trip, I couldn't touch my feet. I couldn't even put my own shoes on. So the name of the book is A Fall in Maine. I refer to myself not as a photographer, but as a travelogue snapshot artist. I take pictures when I am, where I am at the time. The lighting, whatever you got, that's what you got to deal with. Most of the time, unless I'm with the camera club on a field trip, I'm traveling with people who don't photograph. And they're usually fairly tolerant of me, but they're not going to get up at 4 a.m. and drive me out to some coastal scene to take a dawn shot. So what I like to do, and this is, I step through and document the whole trip. This is Old Orchard Beach. It's after Labor Day weekend. The place is empty, everything's shut down, but this is the largest, probably sand beach in Maine. It's just north of Portland, and beautiful scenery.
That's some pier.
Yeah, that's a real stunning pier. It was all closed down. There was nothing open. After Labor Day, this place shuts down. Of course, when you go to Portland, when you go to Maine, you're looking for lighthouses, old homes. You have to stop and eat. So one of my favorite places is to find the local breweries that have food and go and eat there and sample their craft beers while I'm there. Of course, the other thing we were looking for while we were there were covered bridges. And it was interesting that most of these bridges don't have addresses. So trying to look them up in a map or get your nav system in the car to find them is impossible because the nav system wants an address. Google saves our butts every time. We type in the name of the covered bridge and Google would guide us right to it, no matter where it was.
But it's not working.
Wait, I just muted him.
The one on this bridge is still in use today. It's been structurally re-engineered. It's got lots of extra steel cabling and things in it, but it's actually on a highway that goes from Maine into New Hampshire. There's a place in the Portland area that's got 3 different outlets, and it's called the Holy Donut. They make their donuts out of corn and out of potato starch, not wheat. They're very interesting. They're very pricey. They're like $2 a donut. And they sell out all their donuts in all 3 locations by noon every day.
Wow. Potatoes.
Not all the covered bridges are in good shape or still covering rivers. This one is sitting up on concrete blocks and it's waiting to be restored and then probably repositioned someplace else. But it looks like it's been there a while and they don't have the money they need to restore it. This covered bridge has actually been picked up and moved artificially as part of the Coal Land Transport Museum. It was outside their building. If you're ever, this is in Bangor, Maine, if you're ever there, this museum is quite interesting. It's got old vehicles that were everything from fire trucks, to snow vehicles, the lumber vehicles.
Oh, wow.
This green one up in the left corner is a snowcat. Then we headed inland. Most of Maine is a bog. It's wet everywhere. The Appalachian Trailhead goes through it. We were there a bit early. We were just barely getting colors as we went north. But you never know. The season, you know, they need a good freeze to get the colors to trigger. And we got there the last week of September and it hadn't quite done it yet. So, but we did get some color. We decided to go over to Moosehead Lake from Baxter Park through the Cattanin Ironworks. And it was a dirt road the whole way, all washed out. We thought we'd save a lot of time on the road. It took us twice as long to go 30 miles as it did going back home on the highway 90 miles. It was quite the rough trip, but it was quite beautiful.
Can you hear me, Greg? What time of year was this?
September and October. Last week of September, first week of October. This is Moosehead Lake, which is the largest body of fresh water fully contained within the continental United States. So that excludes the Great Lakes. This thing's huge. There's that big ship up top there in the right-hand corner. That is the Katahdin, or Katahdin, excuse me. And it is a national historic vessel. You can take tours on it. Take you out for 2 hours going up the lake, and you only get about halfway up the lake, and you turn around and come back. Weather permitting, when the storms come up, this lake is very violent, and they have to get back to shore pretty quick.
I thought the biggest lake was Okeechobee. I must be wrong.
Well, according to the state of Maine,
Maybe it's brackish water down there. That's why.
yeah, it could be, because this is fresh water fully contained within the continental United States. There are a lot of private residences all the way around this lake. Some of them are on islands, and there's no power on them. There's no water on them. They are fully self-contained. And they're usually only used for 3 or 4 months in the year. The rest of the year, you can't get to them. Not everyone respects the state or condition of the covered bridges, as you can see by the graffiti on this one. We VRBO'd everywhere. We don't like hotels. We usually anchor for 3 or 4 days in one place, and this was one of our VRBOs. Ellsworth, that's the entryway to Acadia National Park. There's a historic train ride there, which was, well, not very eventful. You can see everywhere you go, it's water standing everywhere. Now we're in Acadia. This is the largest lake within the boundaries of Acadia. Down in the right-hand corner is the cruise ships from Europe sitting off of Bar Harbor. There were thousands of tourists in town while we were there. Most of them Europeans. When you go to Acadia, it's all about the ocean crashing with the granite monoliths. I mean, it's the ocean and the granite. It's just stunning. Of course, you always have to take a time out for a good beer. Now, Acadia is actually on 2 different peninsulas. Well, one is on an island and then on the Scotic Peninsula. You actually have to go back up and cross over or take a ferry across. So when you see Scotic Peninsula, that means you're on the northern side of the park. This used to be a naval signals intercept building. Beautiful building. It's a museum now. It's maintained by the Scotic Institute, and they do all kinds of educational programs there. But there's a full study there on the right. You can see that it was a military barracks, and it was in operation there until sometime in the 2002. More lighthouses. Everywhere you look, they have lighthouses. Maine is about 300 miles long. They have 3,000 miles of coastline. That's how ragged the coastline is. And I don't know how many islands. There are islands everywhere. beautiful harbors. On Mount Desert Island, which is where the headquarters of Acadia is, there's also this old car museum. One of the finest selections, private select collections of old vehicles I've never seen before. And I was amazed how many of them built in the 1800s were all electric. This is, we had lunch at the brewery in Bar Harbor. You see the granite cliffs.
Oh, nice.
Fall colors. Oh, guess what? More beer. Now, after leaving that, we relocated after Acadia, heading back towards Portland, which is where we entered the state. And on the way there, we stopped by Camden. This is I would love to go back and spend a week or more in Camden, just in Camden. It's a beautiful little town. You see all the ships and the schooners in there. The schooners take people out on tourists out on rides, but they were all getting prepared to winter over. I guess this bay is very protected. It does not get rough water. It does not freeze. And what they do is they cover the schooners with heavy plastic tarpaulins. Basically, they shrink wrap these things so that the snow cannot collect on them during the winter. And I love this old yacht. All wood, very simple. I have no idea what it cost, but what that baby was, I bet it was pricey in its day. When we get back to Casco Bay, which is Portland, Portland has all these islands and all these lighthouses everywhere. There's also a bunch of old forts. And these forts were to protect the bay from invaders from, France and the Brits. And they would set these cannons up on all around the bay, cross-firing. Anything that would try to get into the bay would get wiped out because they just had so many cannons, in crossfire pointing everywhere. They never fired a shot at an enemy after building them all. A couple of lighthouses. The one on the left is a lighthouse still in use. It's on private property. The Coast Guard pays the owner of the property for a lease. The one on the right was a lighthouse. It was converted to a foghorn. Now, this is in Cape Elizabeth, which is a residential area, a very expensive residential area. Needless to say, they've turned off the foghorn. Then we went out and took a boat tour of Casco Bay. This is a big ferry that comes in from Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. I was told it was a 5.5-hour ride. This huge German cruise line company was in Portland. More lighthouses. This is a humble home, a summer home of someone. Probably the Kennedys, who knows? That's a summer cottage.
Wow.
In
Just for summer.
In Cape Elizabeth, yeah. But you can see more of these forts around, more lighthouses. This is all Casco Bay. And then it was time to go home. And I listed, all the breweries and things. And what I do is I make copies of these and give them to the people who are touring with me. Everybody gets a copy. And at the end, I always put in, what I used and what I didn't. So Cam wrote for me, there are some fine individual images here, but what I enjoyed most was the travel log, the story aspect of the book. Often the more personal you make something, the more universal it becomes. Your book reminded me of all the pleasures of travel, scenery, friends, history, food, and drink, to name a few. I also appreciated the smaller details you included, like informative signs and beer glasses. I felt like a bit like I was on the trip with you. It was wonderful. Effective and selective use of color for the pages and the text. And then, of course, same thing he put on there, told everybody else, I would include the author's name on the cover and the spine. So
That's nice of you to do that for everybody, Greg.
yeah, I've been doing it for years. I love doing it. Usually what they do is get it as Christmas presents.
Nice.
Very good, Greg.
Nice job.
Yeah, nice.
Cheryl, we
Hot
hear
and
you.
easy.
Yep, I'm here. Can you all hear now?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
You want me to share your book?
Yeah, mine's short, so I won't keep you real long. I'll just preface by saying I had this vision, this idea of what I wanted to do, and then and it was sort of had to do related to COVID and what I was, how I had just focused on some photography things during COVID, and then COVID got really bad in the beginning of December, and I had to work too much. And so all along, I think I wrote an article for the Galleon at one point, don't wait to the last minute. And then, of course, we got into December and I had to finish it, and I was like crazy busy. So anyway, the first thing is, I don't think that our judge understood the title, largely because I didn't do a very good job of presenting it. So my idea was that this would be, I am a doctor in the emergency department, and that probably didn't come across from my title. And then I'm dressed in COVID and that gear, and that, I don't know how that came across. But then my idea was that I was going to have a book full of doctored images that I had played with, manipulated, done things with. So that was where I was going with this. It was unsuccessful. Let me just say that.
Sounded very ambitious.
It was a good thought, but then I ended up with, oh my gosh, I don't have enough pictures for this. I can't do them. Anyway, so then I was just throwing in pictures, and I was disappointed with the result. But okay.
It was a good learning experience.
It was very good. All right. So this is just a picture from our front yard, but go ahead. Next one. So again, this was a doctored image, and this was one that won an award in the last year or so. And one of the comments was that his eyes were too blue, but in fact, the horse really had blue eyes. So I just sort of, what I did was include the basis for my photo.
I can attest to horses with blue eyes. I've seen several, and they can be strikingly blue.
Yeah, this one is
I can attest to getting screwed for blue. I've showed a blue agave and got criticized because it was blue.
Blue is bad. And then I had seen a newspaper with a picture of Juan Sanchez Cotan's picture, with his painting, which is up in the left, and I was so smitten by this. I don't know why. I'm like, I want to reproduce this. I want to see what I can do. So at any rate, I jimmied up a closet or a cabinet and did this. And then, don't you know that I'm supposed to be showing the final image on the right, but this is not the final image. So I put the wrong picture in there. So, okay. That was partway through.
I remember your image looked better.
And so this was an image architecture. We were in Chile, and I did add the moon to give it some interest. And so anyway, that was another doctored image. And this was kind of fun because we had these pictures from Rhyolite, which I liked. where the moon was coming through the empty windows. And then, I don't know, someplace I'd taken a picture of this crazy lady. And so just sort of played around and put something together. Again, a doctored image.
Very creative.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had an extra alpaca in there, but took that out.
Yeah, we played around with that, put Outback in there. And Larry and I snuck away to Alaska. We got like COVID fever, and we went up in August. And so we wanted to see the Northern Lights, which we'd never seen. And we actually did get some images. This one on the right is a composite. I wanted to put a reindeer with the in there, and then it came out too dark, and I hadn't edited it right. And when I get the book, I'm like, oh my gosh. All right, so I had the concept, right? This is my sister, and I did a picture for her birthday from a picture, worked on it and edited it with some software. So another doctored image. And yep, so the picture left was the original, and this is just the playing around with some things that you can do in Photoshop, cloning things and
Saturation.
She added 2 more boxes.
it looked better to me with 3. You all saw this. This was Penny's the treasure hunt and a composite image.
These are really cute, Cheryl.
Yeah.
I love them. Yeah. It's really nice.
So, and then I started running out of things. I'm like, I don't have any more doctored. I don't have any more images. What am I going to put in this book? And then I do paint. And so this is a painting of it's a photo on the left and my painting on the right as a doctored image.
Nice.
Nice.
That's nice.
And this one had a lot of work to bring out all the colors, doctored, I guess, my favorite image. And then that's it. And then I think just the last page, which, I painted in a flower in his mouth that really wasn't there. So just hope for 2021, just the darkness of this whole past year, hoping things are looking better. Anyway, this is a good lesson for everybody. Don't do this when you put a book together. Be better at editing, take more time.
We just got too busy.
But isn't that so apropos for 2020? Just everything was upside down, and so you've got a book that just reflects 2020.
Yeah, that's it. You're right. Okay, exactly. I'll take that.
No, I think if you remove the hyphen from your title, doctored, it will be more clear what you're all about there. Take that hyphen out.
Well, it was supposed to be doctor in the emergency department, the EDC.
But who's going to know that except you and me and the other people that have been in that profession?
Put a period after E and a period after D too, so we know it's not just Ed that we're talking about.
I expected to see pictures of a doctor with erectile dysfunction.
There you go. Yes.
And actually, Cheryl,
Only Jim would think that.
I think most people think of ED as the ER.
Yeah.
It changed a few years back because everybody used to always say ER. Now it's ED.
I still say ER.
It's actually in our profession, it's a sort of a slam if you say ER because it's not a room where we work.
Yes.
We work in a department. We are special doctors that work in a department. We're not just like, working in a room. And I don't know.
Well, where I come from, it's A&E, accident and emergency.
There you go. Well, anyway, I was trying to do a play on words. I don't think that came across so well because Cam didn't get it. But I didn't help him to get it. So
He enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for laughing and your appreciative comments, because it wasn't my best work, but oh well.
Oh, the judge didn't get my book either.
Oh no!
Because I didn't give it to him.
Did you make
No book.
Did
But you know,
He
I
had
think
nothing bad to say about it.
she's
you went through them pretty quickly, but I was enjoying your composites, and I thought they looked good. And that one with the Northern Lights, I
Yeah.
thought that turned out pretty nice. I was looking at, I don't know, you thought part of it was too dark, but I thought it looked good.
Brighter on the screen.
Yeah, it looked brighter on my my computer monitor, and then when it printed, it was so dark you couldn't really see the trees in the back that were in the background behind the moose and elk, whatever it was, and
Yeah.
so I was just disappointed. I'm like, oh.
What company printed your book?
Blurb,
Okay, is your monitor calibrated?
not the blurb.
Of
course
but
not.
it is calibrated though?
No.
Nah.
Well, there's your problem. If your monitor is not calibrated, you have no idea what the hell you're sending to them.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that was one of those things that should have been done if I had.
By your technical manager.
Yeah.
Larry.
Yeah. Technical department. Don't send it to the technical room, send it to the technical department. They'll fix you up.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Well,
I really, I enjoy all the books. I enjoyed making mine, and I enjoy seeing the others. It's nice seeing a collection of work from different people, particularly since they're people I know in this case, and it's just refreshing to see the differences and what people are doing and where their interests lie and how they approach it. It's fun, and I think it's fun making them too.
Yeah.
I like the variety, and I really like what Greg did with making a book out of his trips, because I'm always thinking, what am I going to make a book about? Well, get out of your trip limits the material you deal with, so that would maybe be something that I could handle, because I'm always kind of I want to take the big picture and it's just too big of a job. But if I've got one set of pictures from a trip, maybe I could do something there.
Yeah. I like. Well, I love the road. When I was 12, my dad and I started going to Nebraska to see his family, and of course we went by car. But I loved those trips, and then later years, Penny and I did stuff on the bicycles. We've been all over the country on well, not all over. Well, yeah, pretty much on the bicycles. And those pictures, there's a story as you go through those pictures and a sense of it. And of course, again, a limited audience in some ways, but also like the judge said with Greg's, the story is what made it interesting for a more general audience. And I like that sort of thing. I enjoy Greg's stuff, and I look at those old pictures of my own.
Kitty.
Often, yeah, it's cool. It's cool stuff.
Yeah.
The pictures that don't have that much meaning just on their own are so much more interesting in a group like that. I mean, it tells
when they have context.
Yeah, they make more sense where they complement each other.
And I, mine, even now, as we're traveling and, we take the camper and everything, we try to be there when the light is going to be good for some places, and sometimes the light doesn't keep the appointment. But a lot of the pictures, like what Greg said, this is the light as I found it when I was there.
Yeah.
And, it's a different kind of photograph. It's not, competition grade photograph so much, but it's more like some of the work that we've seen, some of the photographers, Vivian Mayer and some of those others, where the light just, it's not really about the light. It's something else. It's about a moment and about maybe an individual or a place. And particularly when you have a collection of them, I think it makes for sometimes a strong body of work, and certainly gives more interest than what maybe a single image of something like that type would be. I like it. I enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoy the books because it's a different side that we see from everybody. It's It's not just trying to win a competition of a photo. I mean, the book competition is a competition, but it's more than that. It's not really.
I didn't make my book for the competition.
No,
I just grabbed it and threw it in.
And this is, I think, one of the things that makes these books as strong as they are is that they're not the photographs. A lot of them, particularly Greg. So just focus on Greg because he said right up front, this is what I found when I happened to be there. They're photographs. I think the strongest photographs any of us can make are photographs that we're making for ourselves. Photographs that we can connect with. We're connecting with a situation or a place or whatever, and we're making these photographs. And I think if it's something that you really appreciate and you're really into, you're going to get, as a general rule, those are going to be your strongest images. And they may or may not connect with the judges, but and then when you get a collection of those where the light is kind of, well, this is what it was, and this is the amount of time I had, they start to come together as a cohesive unit, and they gain strength in that regard.
Yeah, I think we have to remember that photos are all about telling a story, and they don't have to be technically perfect to tell a story. I mean,
No, you look at some of the old
that-
photographers, those old photographs, oh, this guy was really great, and it's 100 years ago and everything. The technical quality is crap. It's shit. It's not focused. It's grainy. It's all, but it's that moment, and I've seen this with musicians. You got these guys back in, the 1910s and the first days of recording and stuff, and yeah, they're good musicians, but they have this gold veneer over them, and they're not necessarily any better than some of the people that are playing today, but they go back. They're the roots of the art form in jazz, let's say, that's what I'm talking about. And so they get this extra high status, but and the same thing would happen with photograph, like with Greg's book, okay, these are not competition grade photos for the most part, but they have a story to tell. And as a unit, I think there's value there. Beyond just the people who were on the trip.
Going to two things. When you said you look at the old photographs that are technically bad, well, actually, they're pretty good for the equipment that they had at the time.
Oh yes, absolutely. They're exceptional for what they had to work with.
Right.
I'm not discrediting them in that regard, but I'm just saying relative to today, yeah, they're pretty rough, but for the time, and because they were able to do as much as they did with the equipment available at the time, they were, at the top of the craft. They were state-of-the-art photographers. This is as good as it gets. And that has carried on over the years. It's not as good as it gets now, but it's as good as it was then. And so they still have that mystique about them. And I'm not degrading the effort and the skill involved to get what they got with what they had to use. I'm just saying that, there's this veneer over the photographers and the musicians of the early, they were the first to do these things, and they did it really, really well. And that's why we know of them. That's all I'm saying about it.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is that one of the things nice about the books is that when we show work in competition, we're seeing individual images, and we don't really. There may not be a cohesiveness to those images, so we don't really get an idea or an understanding of what the photographer is really interested in doing. And then when you put it into a book and you see a collection of images, you get a feel for what that photographer is looking for and what they're trying to say. So I think that's
and the individual images can get stronger because of that.
And it's just like looking at portfolios. You can see individual images, but you really don't understand what an artist is really trying to do unless you see what they call his oeuvre. So.
Yeah, and an individual image, sometimes you can get a good part of that if you have the time to really explore it. And in our competitions, there just isn't time. We'd be up all night and we still wouldn't finish, with 30 images.
Yeah.
But yeah, the books help in that regard. You can see, a consistency and a pattern, if you will, and you start to see this sort of gels into, like what you're saying, Jim, you get a sense for what the photographer's after and trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Let me just interrupt here. We do have to have a board meeting, and so I'm gonna wrap this up. But I want to ask one last
Can't read it
question.
'cause the
We have
bird-
to make a decision about a project for 2021. I hear a lot of enthusiasm about the books. I personally would like a chance to redeem myself. I'm just going to throw it out there and just say, is there a consensus? Am I hearing from all of you that you'd like to try to do books again in 2021?
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge fun.
And we could even get Jeannie in.
Well, I don't know.
And anybody who's trying to decide to do a book, just start it. Let it live on your desktop. It doesn't, just throw some pictures on just start. You'll be surprised how quickly it will grow if you just start. That's the hardest part.
Okay, thanks. Thank you for that, Elaine. Okay, well, I'm gonna call our meeting.
I'm gonna go. I'll see you guys.
End. But those
Me
of
too.
you, bye, Jim.
Bye.
Those of you who are on the
Bye bye.
Bye.
stay on for a short meeting.